Hello, Richard. How are you?
Hi, John.
Hey, it's Bronze and Modern Gods. You know the deal. It is the second episode of 2024. If you're not following us on Facebook and Instagram, you missed out on a live sale yesterday on our Instagram. I got on there for a couple hours, and some of you members got on and bought some books for 10% off. If you remember, Richard, you missed it.
I did. I'm sorry I missed it. I would have loved to just listen in. If you've never participated in a live show that John and Raphael do, it is a hoot. It is a hoot. It was 50% presentation, 50% books.
Let's just say if you have not experienced chicken hand yet, you have no idea what chicken hand is. You have to come to a live sale. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, we've got our usual show for you. You know how it works. We have underrated books of the week. We have show and tell. We've got the first old fart rule of the new year, which means we're moving to 1984.
84.
40 years ago, 1984, Richard.
It was my first year at high school.
Corey Hart, Never Surrender, 40 years old this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shaka Khan, I Feel for You, 40 years old this year. Your Children, hey, let's get things going with our hot book of the week. Richard, share with the folks what it is.
Our hot book this week is Uncanny X-Men number 139, Marvel Comics, 1980. I've got a copy of it right here. Uh, it is one of my favorite. I love this run of X-Men. You know, this is just such a fun run. Um, you take the X-Men and just crank it up a notch. This is the issue where Kitty Pryde joins the X-Men. And if you don't know who Kitty Pryde is, she's that young lady there in the middle. And Kitty is one of my favorite X-Men, mainly because you get to see her from her very first sparks of using her powers. Her first appearance is in X-Men 129, all the way through when she's a master of them and she's, romancing Colossus and she's an adult, So you get to see her over the span of the 40 years. Uh,
Computer language genius, uh,
yes.
ninja, shield agent. What can't she do?
No, she's awesome. The only thing she can't do is pick a good superhero name. Her name is Sprite.
Ariel, Sprite.
So, yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that. But other than that, I think this book is spiking this week because of all of the X-Men hype. There's a lot of rumors about the MCU, and we're going to see Wolverine here in Deadpool 3. So I think people are trying to pick up these X-Men keys while they're still affordable. And this one is still affordable. This happens to be this is a direct copy, but there are also newsstands of this book. And this one here is pretty good. I would say it's a 9294
Nice.
if I were to get it to slab. Um, this is in the range of those books when I see them. For a long time, these are $15-$20 books because they weren't big keys, but they were still keys. And so I have a number of them, and I recommend if you get an opportunity to pick them up, please do. Um, GPA on the book is for a 9.8 is only $408. The last sale in December. The newsstand copy, which sold this month, is only $500. Which again, I think that's pretty reasonable compared to some of the other big keys in the X-Men run. Raws are reasonable. You can get a raws anywhere. I was looking on eBay, anywhere from $25 to $50, depending on condition and seller awareness. So go out and get them.
That cover is the beginning of the "Welcome to the X-Men" insert character name here. Hope you survive the experience trope.
Yep. Rogue did it too.
What I love about that issue, the entire issue, there's no overarching evil villain or storyline or, even plot really in that issue. It's like a day in the life kind of
Mhm.
men thing, they're in the danger room and Wolverine and Nightcrawler are up in Canada camping. When's the last time the X-Men went camping?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, it was a much simpler time. No sentient islands to deal with.
I miss it.
I do too. I do
I
too.
miss
That's what, 1980, I was in high school and I was a voracious comic book reader. I spent my allowance on comic books. That's what I did. Comic books and music were the
Mhm.
two things that I spent money on. And yeah, so that always, that always has the X-Men run always has a soft spot in my heart because of those memories.
I agree, and I have to wonder now that the X-Men titles are under Tom Brevoort, what's gonna happen? If, there's gonna be a reset, maybe we'll try to go back to those days. What do you think?
I I enjoyed the House of X. I'm sorry. The Powers of 10, House of X, whatever you want to call it. Um, that run, I thought it was innovative in a way that I hadn't seen in X-Men for a long time. So to see that come to an end, leaves me a little nervous because the X-Men have an opportunity to, like you say, go back to their roots and really um, go back and revitalize those characters, or they could go the deep end and um, just take them in the wrong direction. So I'm crossing my fingers that we see something that X-Men fans like, as opposed to what writers and studio heads like. So we'll see.
Let's wait and see. In the meantime, you can help us out by supporting the show by becoming a member right here on YouTube for the cost of just $2.99 a month. Everyone, 1, 2, 3, less than a
Less than the
Starbucks.
cost of Starbucks.
Or even almost half the cost of a new first issue from Marvel. You can show your support and get a few perks as well. As you know, every Friday we have exclusive live member only streams. We have extra show and tell episodes on Wednesdays for members only. Look at these names, all these people. Your name could be on this screen right now, and you could pause it and point at it and look at your family and say, "Look, I am somebody. Don't you ever say I'm not ever again."
Oh,
Do that.
that's a dark turn.
Sorry, it got really dark there for a second. Was I projecting? Also, a live sale. We have 10% off for members on live sales. So, people like Dave, still only 35 cents yesterday, purchased some books. He's going to get 10% off that purchase. All you have to do, if you're on YouTube, just hit join right down here next to the subscribe button. If you're on your phone or on the podcast, you fortunately have to go on to a desktop browser or a laptop, whatever you have, and go to the channel from there and hit join. There's also always a link to join in the description below. Now, let's change the screen to the magical show and tell screen. Viola. There we go. That's how it's pronounced, right? Viola?
Sometimes it is, yes.
Did I ever tell? I think I've told this story on the podcast. Forgive me, indulge me, people. Third grade, I got held back after class one day by the teacher who is like, Johnny, did you have help writing your paper? It's like, no, I did it myself. What's this word right here? Omnipotent. And she goes, what does it mean? It means you're invincible and like, you're kind of like a god and you can't be defeated. She goes, well, it's pronounced omnipotent. And I'm really impressed you know that word. How did you learn that word and use it in your paper? I read the mighty Thor, and they always refer to him as omnipotent. So there's comic books help kids.
They do. They absolutely do.
They do. Show and tell time. Let me
Mm,
start. Um,
sure.
a comic book that I'm pretty certain has never helped a kid at all. It's Savage Dragon. I have just a few Savage Dragon. This is from the era of like 185 to like 250, where the print runs are super low because everybody kind of gave up on the book, including me. I gave up at this point. Now I'm going back trying to fill my run. It's very interesting. You've got Savage Dragon's son Malcolm taking over. You've got this new logo that I'm not sure how I feel about that logo versus the old one,
Yeah.
but plenty of Slam Bam Eric Larson art, which is great. They moved to Toronto. They have kids, little domestic stuff. Malcolm grows a goatee, you know, stuff like that. Exciting Savage Dragon covers for you.
So how close are you to having a full run?
I'm still missing quite a few in that low print run stuff. What's interesting is the 200 to 250, they kind of go for like $20 a pop.
Yeah.
Just average issues. And at first I'm like, why are they selling so much? No one's buying it. Well, there must be people like me who dropped off and came back on and are trying to fill that run, or there wouldn't be that kind of demand for it. I got lucky and went to Palm Springs and got those in a big box for cover price.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe you'll get lucky and find the rest of those.
Fingers crossed. I've only had to pay a premium for one issue yet, and that was the sorry everyone, not to get political, the issue with Trump on the cover chasing Malcolm and his wife out of America because they're immigrants.
Okay, yeah.
Paid a premium for that one. I don't
Mhm.
have the like the Invincible preview is in one of those issues. I
Oh,
don't, yeah, I
that's
don't
right.
have
Okay.
don't have that one. I do have the Omni-Man cameo in not cameo, but guest starring in Supreme, which Eric Larson did. That's a big one. I happened to buy that off the stands new because I was buying Eric Larson Supreme. So, what do you have?
I have, I'm sorry, I don't remember if I don't remember I bought this. This is a, Hombre Ariana?
Aranya?
Aranya, thank you.
Wow,
Doctor
where'd you get that?
I don't remember. It could be a YouTube buy. This is what happens, folks. When you buy too many comic books, um, you start to forget where they come from. I was digging through and it says, "Oh, this is great." And notice it's got that scratch off down there. Do you know anything about that?
There's an era of those books and where they have that little scratch off thing, and I'm not sure what it was for. It was a
Hmm.
contest or something. But yeah, that's interesting. The publisher's different too from the ones I had a whole bunch on the live sale yesterday that
Hmm.
printed early Uncanny X-Men from earlier in that era. But that's not editorial Navarro, is it, in the corner? What is the
Um,
top corner?
it says Grupo Piramni.
Great.
Sorry,
I like
I
that you
am
had to hold it right here.
I do. These glasses are just for show. But look at that corner box. It is. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a reimagining of a Marvel cover. That corner box is just all over the place.
Well,
And look at the price on it.
they were reprinting the Avengers because that's an
Right.
Avengers cover. So what
Mhm.
happens, you guys, is those Mexican comics were biweekly at that point, and they would catch up to the Spider-Man reprints. And so, in order to not catch up and run out of material to reprint, they would have different books, team books in those off weeks. Sometimes it was X-Men, sometimes it was Fantastic Four, sometimes it was Avengers, and it was all under that El Asombroso Hombre Araña title.
Yeah. So this one's got Doctor Doom on the cover, and it looks like a luchador behind him getting ready
That's
to.
Rage.
Oh, is it Rage? Really?
Rage.
Oh my God. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
and look at the cover. The cover price on this is $1,300.
No, it's pesos.
I know. I know. It is a dollar sign. It's a dollar sign there. So anyway, that's I'm a big everyone knows I'm a big Doctor Doom fan. So this came up and I remember getting it. I don't remember where I got it from.
Why is it
So
1,300 pesos? Was that a double-sized issue or something?
no, 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 it's a normal sized issue.
Okay, well, that's interesting that it costs so much.
Yeah.
Um,
From 1991.
yeah. Okay. You've never seen Rage before?
No, no, I can't say that I have.
Rage was an Avenger that was from he was a young kid from the city that would change into that form, almost like Shazam. And he ended up joining the new Warriors. That's why his costume's kind of like janky because he was like, a 13-year-old kid. And
Okay.
he thought that made him look tough. It wasn't, yeah.
Mhm.
Rage. Ah, Rage. Well, here we go. It is Marvel Premiere number 49. First solo Falcon.
Mm.
Frank Miller cover. Um, Interesting story inside. It was written by Mark Evanier, drawn by Sal Buscema. It was written, Steve Gerber was writing Captain America at one point, and he was notoriously late always with his scripts. So he got his buddy Mark to write a fill-in issue that focused on the Falcon that could be dropped in at any time during the run if he blew a deadline. And
Mhm.
he got fired from the book before he blew the deadline. So they ended up running this inventory story in Marvel Premiere. And I remember buying this off the stand and being so excited because the Falcon got his own little solo spotlight, and it reads like that. I didn't realize it was a fill-in for Cap until years later when I read about that online.
Now, how's the cover? I mean, you said it's a Frank Miller cover, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Frank has his on days and his off days. So what would you say?
This is primo Frank Miller when he was on, man. I mean, you've
Okay.
got Red Wing, you've got just real good stuff. Who inked this? It was Klaus Janson. So, the team supreme,
Mhm.
Frank and Claus can't lose. Same time around this same exact time when Rom #1 came out, he drew that cover as well. He's drawing a lot of covers for Jim Shooter at this period. He had a really good sense of design and competition. Jumped off the stands at me right into my little hands.
Perfect.
What do you have?
Uh, I have a couple. Next couple are going to be Spider-Gwen books. I've got Into the Spider-Verse or Edge of Spider-Verse number. This is number 2, right? I don't want to say it. Yeah,
Yeah.
number 2. This is the 4th print.
Dear
Um,
Lord.
yeah. So I've been collecting all the prints. I've got the first print, second print, third print, and which is a different design, and then the 4th print here. Everything but the 3rd print has the exact same covers. It's just Marvel in this period would change the color of the bottom banner here to indicate the print. And of course, you can also look at the number here to determine what print it was. The 3rd print has a design variant as opposed to this. Um, this is I'm trying to remember. Was this Land who did this cover? He did the variant. No, he did
I
the variants.
don't think that was Land. No, he did the very
Oh.
light boxed from a photo reference variant cover. I'm
I think
assuming
it's
it's Greg Land.
Rodriguez. Yeah, yeah. Latour, and Rodriguez are listed on the.
You guys,
Anyway,
you guys always have to set us straight. Who traces porn stills for covers? Is that Greg Land or Greg Horn? I think it's Greg Horn.
some Greg.
One of the
Uh,
Gregs.
anyway, I wanted to get all the me my OCD. I wanted to get all the variants, so I've got all the different versions of this book now. So first appearance of Spider Gwen.
There's
I'm
a
not a big
fifth.
fan of this cover. Pardon?
There's a fifth print, right?
Yes, there is a 5th print. I
With
have that as
or-
well.
orange banner at the bottom, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's blue, orange. I can't remember all the colors.
A
Um,
rainbow.
yeah, but this was the last one that I needed to finish the whole set.
Oh, nice. Uh, Men's Adventures. This is issue number 28. It is a 3.0 off white. It's got some grease pencil on there, which is probably removable. Wink, wink, if you know what you're doing on the logo there.
Yeah,
Haven't bothered. I got this in trade at, I believe, WonderCon last year for a G.I. Joe. #1, I got this and another slab in trade for the G.I. Joe #1. And I just love it. I think I got it from the man behind the red hood. I think he and I did a little swappy swap.
I remember you were big into trading last year, and you brought a bunch of books. When we went to California Comic Con. You had a bunch of books in tow, and you did some nice trades. It's takes a little bit of chutzpah to be able to do that. So kudos.
Well, chutzpah combined with, hey, I don't care about G.I. Joe. Uh,
Hmm.
and you can move that G.I. Joe a lot faster than you'll move this Men's Adventures number 28. You
Hmm.
know, you just remind a dealer of that and they'll go, you know what? He's right. And you work out a trade. And if he says no, then you stomp off and huff and puff and you pout. You just move on. Hey, no, everybody has the right to take or not take a deal. Who cares? What do you
Yeah.
got?
Okay, I was going to do another Spider Gwen, but I'm going to do something different. Let's do this one. This is Green Lantern Corps
Wow.
209.
Look at you with the DC Copper Age.
DC. Yeah, this came from my collection that has been sitting in the attic for 30 some odd years. I used to be a big fan of Green Lantern. This is an interesting story because it takes the Green Lantern Corps runs into Gorbachev in the Soviet Union and Ronald Reagan in the United States, and they kind of divide into two different teams. You get Hal Jordan going to the United States, and you get Kilowog and John Stewart end up in the Soviet Union. And so there's a little conflict there, and Kilowog amps up. We've got Red Rocket, and you see there is a whole huge legion of them there. So you get American politics or Earth politics mixed in with a bunch of aliens who have absolutely no idea of the biases and struggle between communism and capitalism, and it's hilarity ensues. It's it's an interesting story.
Is that 208 or 209?
This is 209. Yes,
208 is the first appearance of Rocket Red.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Rocket Red ends up joining Justice League in
Mhm.
early on in that first international run.
Well, I
Uh,
had that 208 in my hand. I could have pulled that one.
Next week, Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, number 13.
Why does
Jack,
that look familiar?
probably been homaged, who knows? But this was Stan and Jack in their prime, and since it took place in World War II, let's have a crossover with Cap and Bucky to kind of
Yeah.
help this war title that was on its second year, third year at this point because it was bi-monthly. I think it's probably monthly at this point, but
Mhm.
I was bummed. I sent this in. I thought it was going to be, a 6.570, and it came back a 5.0. And I think I know why. I may have been delusional, but I think they really hammered me for that water stain.
Oh, yeah.
Water stain up there.
Mhm.
And I think it's a bit aggressive for a tiny water stain to hammer it all the way down to 5.0, but I just love this cover.
Yeah, for those who are listening, it's you've got just a classic Kirby cover with Cap standing there, holding his shield out, deflecting bullets while everybody's running to catch up with them. It's uh, it's like I said, it's classic Kirby.
And I think it is right before, if not the same time, he started in his solo series in Tales of Suspense 59. There's that. What do you have?
Oh, let's see. I, uh,
Boy, it's
oh
called.
no, I pulled a bunch of rando books. Okay, so some of these books don't have any real rhyme or reason.
That's all right.
Um, let's see.
Pick one.
Let's here's one. I maybe you can tell me the story of this one. This is um The Adventures of Superman. Okay. Superman has got a bandana, he got Superman flag, and he's fighting in the middle of a war. Looks
That
like.
is a Legends crossover, right? Yes.
Correct.
He is, I believe, Superman is on Apocalypse fighting parademons. That's who those.
That's what they look like, the green and yellow. Yeah.
Yeah, and who is that next to him with the gun? Is that
That's a good question.
is that Rick Flag from the Suicide Squad? Maybe I don't know. But Legends was a big crossover that had to do with Darkseid and his dominions, his minions trying to uh, use Glorious Godfrey's mind control powers to get everyone against superheroes.
Mm.
So they probably took it to Apocalypse.
Yeah, the Green Arrow, the Green Lantern I just showed was also a part of that Legends era. But he's got this is not mullet Superman,
No,
okay?
not yet.
But he's wearing a band or a headband there. Um,
He's
I
sweaty.
just sweaty.
Mhm.
I was going through my books looking for to pull something, and I don't even remember buying this. I don't even think I've read it. I just the cover is just so different from your typical Superman cover that it just really look at the guys being disintegrated here in the corner.
Oh yeah.
Um, Yeah, there's like real fighting going around, and Superman's in the thick of it.
Yeah, that's nothing. You should see later on in that run when he gets banished into space and he's uses his somehow his costume gets destroyed and he uses his cape as like a loincloth and it's like right down the middle there. Um, I have to show that one on a future show. My final show and tell for today is a book I've always called one of the big underrated Marvel Silver Age keys. It still does not get the love and respect. This and Strange Tales 135, I think, are the two that are way, way undervalued. It's Strange Tales 101.
Oh, okay. Why do you think this is undervalued?
It is solo Human Torch.
Hmm.
It is contemporaneous with Fantastic Four number 6.
Okay.
And it
So
was
it's
a
Johnny Storm, Human Torch.
Johnny Storm Human Torch. It was one of the, you had Fantastic Four, then you had the Hulk, then you had Thor,
Mhm.
then you had Ant-Man, and I believe the Human Torch was next to get his own solo series in Strange Tales. And that probably because Martin Goodman knew the Human Torch always sold for him when superheroes were hot. So he probably told Stan, hey, take the Human Torch from Fantastic Four and put him on the cover again. Let's see how it does. And when Jack was drawing it, it did well. When Jack left, it floundered a bit and it finally got replaced by Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. in issue 135, which I mentioned is also being underrated.
Mhm.
What is your last show and tell?
I'm gonna do an. Let's see. Here's one of my favorite things about the Legion of Superheroes. We've got this is Adventure Comics number 336.
Starfinger.
Starfinger, yeah. Look at the background. They used to do these rogues galleries all the time, and so you've got characters in the foreground, but on the background or on the wall are pictures of different Legionnaire members, and I think they did this partially because there were so many of them that they needed to refresh people's memory about who people were. It's you got Superboy and Shrinking Violet and Cosmic Boy and Saturn Girl and etc. This it's one of those tropes that happens in a lot of Legion books because of the size of the team. And here you got Superman or Superboy in the foreground, and he's unveiling this criminal who Starfinger, and it's you've got Chameleon Boy there across from him, and just it's one of that's another trope that is common in the Legion. Some unveiling of some super criminal, and it turns out to be some other Legion member, and it's happens all the time. But I just love this. This is just so indicative of the average Legion cover that I fell in love with when I was reading the book as a 9-year old. It's this was really cool. It showed the inclusion of all those people and an ongoing storyline that was compelling.
I'm guessing it was Jim Shooter that wrote that. It may not have been, but I'm guessing it was in that Shooter run because it
Hmm.
really takes that Marvel style subplotting. Like, I'm sure he was laying down groundwork for Starfinger and the mystery of Starfinger, and it's finally revealed. And we have to remember Jim Shooter was 13 years old.
No, I know.
Never happened in today's society. We need a
It would.
W-9.
Yeah. Child labor laws, I'm sorry, prevent us from being able to do that.
Yeah. We need your W-9 kid. Yeah. Amazing. Tell us what you think of a show and tell. Anything we left out of the books we showed, anything you want to share about your memories of those books, you can tell us all about it, and we might pick it and read it during a segment we call Viewer Mail.
You've got
And
mail.
my first piece of viewer mail comes to us from James Reeves, who writes in reference to Slabgate, swappity
Slap
swappity, swappity swippity, whatever you want to call it.
Swippity. I love that. We should trademark that.
James says, just use CBCS like I do. More consistent grading, better cases, no Newton rings, and no book swap scandal or acetate scandal or invisible book scandal. I am aware that they lost a shipment of books during the pandemic, but the submitter was compensated. Sure, resale prices are a bit lower than CGC, but how long is that going to last? Lack of trust in CGC and the new CBCS label will probably boost CBCS sales prices, especially for books which are known to have been a target for scammers. I don't hate the idea. Richard, you were even debating earlier this week when we were chatting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pluses to CBCS, and the viewer mentioned them here. There's always been one of those situations where it's the stepbrother kind of to CB or CGC, and to my feeling is they've accepted that second place status because they've had a number of opportunities where they could have aggressively attacked CGC in a justifiable way to be able to bring themselves up and potentially CGC down. It's business. It's a competition. But they've not taken advantage of it. So that's up to them. We talked about their marketing team really missed an opportunity to really jump in on this and just simply tout their advantages. They never did that, but every CBCS case I've gotten has been great. And as the viewer says, they are excellent cases. The Newton rings aren't a problem. Um, the new labels, I will admit they are better than the old. They get better on each iteration. They're still not taking advantage, I think, of things that they could, but it's a better label. Um, they have the ability to get books that are already signed. You can get them the signature verified, and you can get yourself a yellow label. Unlike CGC, who has to witness every signature, which has its advantages too. So there's a lot of pluses to it. He does mention the fact that your resale is going to be typically a little less than what you would get with CGC, but hey,
You
CGC
and James left out the biggest advantage of CBCS, in my opinion.
really, what's that?
They're thinner.
The slabs are thinner. Absolutely, absolutely. You can
They're
fit
the
more in the
right
box.
size. You can fit more in a box. Come on. To me, that's the biggest plus for me.
No,
Um,
no, it's a good plus because some of my CGC slabs are beefy. Now, they're 100 pagers, they can get really, really thick.
that's what she. All right, my first or your first piece of viewer mail, please.
My first piece of viewer mail is from Gene Kehoe, sorry.
There you go.
There we go. Dan DiCarlo did all the interior art on Millie from issues number 17 through 92. Wow. And it is wonderful. I love Dan DiCarlo's work. It's just amazing. I
Chef's
have a
kiss.
bunch of pardon?
Chef's kiss.
Yes. I have a bunch of those. By the way, why is the buyer's premium $29 for a $30 book? I thought it was 20%. This is almost 100%. Yeah, the way that this particular auction house goes, this is Heritage that we're talking about. They have a minimum premium that they charge, which happens to be $29. So it's either $29
Womp
or
womp.
20% of the book. Um, they do that for a number of reasons. I think one is to keep their auctions from being flooded by single $10 books, for example. No one's going to want to be able to do that if you're going to be paying that $29
Right.
premium. So yeah, so but in some cases, books end up just not going for what the bidder thought they would go for, and so they go for less than $100, and then that $29 really becomes, it's really becomes a burden because it's a greater percentage of the overall sale. But yeah, that's why that premium is $29.
Gene, I saw that and I was like, Richard, he has a point. Why did I pay a $29 premium on a $30 slab? And now I understand there is a minimum. I still would have done it because that book, even at $59, maybe 65 with taxes and shipping, maybe 70 was still way under GPA. So
Hmm.
it was worth it to me. But now I know for the future. Um,
Yeah, figure all that stuff up. One of the things that I get mess up with auctions is I get all carried away and I
oh,
don't
we get
look at the
the
numbers.
thrill. It's like being at the slot machine, you know?
It is, yeah. Yeah, and they're pretty obvious. They tell you what the buyer's premium is going to be right there as you're bidding, and you don't care because you're hitting that button. You know, your chicken
Dopamine,
get
dopamine,
yeah,
dopamine here.
exactly. So yeah, buyer beware. That's all I want to say.
My next piece of viewer mail comes to us from our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from our buddy Nowhere Bound. Hello, John and Richard. Just responding to Big B McFly's letter from last week. Oh, oh, the so-called first Godzilla in Archie Life with Archie 41 is
Mhm.
unofficial and unnamed, but gets credit on the CGC label. However, the actual first appearance of Godzilla in a US comic is the promotional 4-page handout for the US release of Godzilla vs. Megalon in 1976, 1 year ahead of the ongoing Marvel comic. I tried to ask CGC to give it a credit. No luck. Tear emoji. And here is a picture of the front of that handout. How friggin' cool is that?
I want it. I want one.
Right?
That
I
is
want one now too. The Godzilla debate continues. All you smarty pants out there, we love every single one of you. Keep it coming.
yeah, for you listeners, it's multiple panels of Godzilla emerging from the depths and Megalon appearing. It looks like an intro from a Japanese movie from the 60s. It's just cool.
It's amazing. And now Richard and I want one, so the
Yeah,
competition begins. Uh,
that's it's always bad when we both want something at the same time.
I know. What is your next piece of viewer mail to keep the peace until we both
My next piece is from a viewer 300 baud. Yes,
can I
acoustic.
stop and talk about exactly? Can we talk about that name for a second?
Yeah,
Remember when 300 baud was the shiz?
yeah. Oh yeah. I remember having your telephone and you would put it in the acoustic coupler and 300 baud literally means you could watch the characters crawl across the screen as they were being transmitted. It was pretty brutal.
Then that upgrade where you could plug your phone line directly into the back of your
Mhm.
desktop with the
And then
card.
1200 baud came out and
Eh,
2400 and then
I used to
uh,
love AOL CDs as coasters that were made the best cup coasters. All right, sorry, 300 baud. But let's get to your question.
okay, this is talking more about swoopity swappity gate.
Hmm.
Um, the scam goes beyond just modern Mark Jewelers and Marvel stamp books. At least one of the uncovered fraudulent book was a purple label book, purple meaning it was restored, that was missing a page and then put into a blue label case of the same book. That could happen to any type of book. Now that's my biggest fear
Can you imagine
is
that ASM number one?
my goodness, yeah. I mean, it's one thing to have, you know, Mark Jewelers as an attribute to a book raises the value of the book. That's what it does, right? Not having it be a Mark Jewelers book is, it will lower it, but it still would be a blue label book. But if that book was restored
Mm.
and then marked as a Mark Jeweler, that's like two levels that you're dropping the value of the book, and it will just be devastating. So yeah, I don't, CGC really, really, really needs to get ahead of the narrative. Like, and I was thinking about this, back when the U.S. was on the gold standard, the dollar bill was worth X amount of gold, right? And the way it worked is you believe the United States had that gold in Fort Knox or someplace, so that you would trade with that dollar because you had confidence in the U.S. government and their ability to maintain that reserve. If for some reason that reserve wasn't there, that dollar bill would be worthless. It's still the same dollar bill. It's just the guarantee, the value of it has been diminished because your trust in that value has diminished. It's the same thing with CGC. They trade in the currency of trust. And if for some reason people lose that trust, they'll lose confidence in CGC. Will stop. We talked about the premium between CGC and CBCS. That would melt away.
Right.
There's a lot of negative connotations to people losing confidence in CGC as that guarantor of the quality of that book. So to me, that's this is attacking them at their core, and they really need to buckle down and get control of the message so that they can minimize this over the long run.
You started talking about the dollar being supported by gold, and I thought you were gonna do one of those gold commercials that, like, run on the Nashville network or,
Not our
daytime.
sponsor.
Yeah. Invest in gold. And by the way, let's talk about your reverse mortgage, shall we? Uh,
Oh, it's not a
my
loan, John.
oh, that's true. It pays you to live in your house. Uh,
Yeah.
Susie Orman would never, ever approve a reverse
Yeah.
mortgage.
No,
Uh,
no reverse mortgage, people.
Dino Pappas, our good buddy, writes us about a warning he has sounded. We talked about it on the live stream, I believe. Guys, changing out boxes with old ones from the 80s. Here's a picture. If anyone doesn't think regular lighting will damage an exposed book, this should be proof positive. Dino. Dino talks about how those, see the little handles there on the boxes? Put a backing board in front of those handles
Right.
because the sunlight, the UV still gets in there. I do the same thing, Dino. I will say in this case, it looks like the it was dirt and environmental stuff that was affecting this as well, and the box top was protecting it. But man, you have a very good point. Look at the damage that box just absorbs over the years.
Yeah, they take a beating. I had my boxes from when I was, they're 30 some odd years in my attic, the attic of the house I grew up in. And when I brought them down, they had gone up pristine.
Mhm.
And when I brought them down, they hadn't moved in 30 some odd years. They were dingy and dark, and it's the atmosphere. They absorbed it from the atmosphere. And so you definitely need to change your boxes and your bags over a period of time because they will deteriorate.
I have those little slide-in dividers. If you
Hmm.
don't have enough books to fill up a box, they keep them secure. I have one in each box in the front just to protect them like that. So very good advice, Dino. And what is your
Absolutely.
last piece of your email?
My last piece is from EZS Comic Book Collecting 6244.
I'm guessing that's
Um,
Z's Comics.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure.
I'm guessing. Who knows?
Yes. Um, well, thank you for the comment. We're talking here about the giant size book that we had or on our last show. And we were wondering why it was available and as a facsimile. And it says it's the 50th anniversary of the giant size comics. So that's why they're doing a facsimile, I believe. That makes sense. If I didn't realize it was a 50th anniversary, and that makes sense. Them calling it out. There was really no rhyme or reason other than something like that that I could see for them doing a facsimile. But they've done facsimiles of goofy things in the past too. So um, Marvel does Marvel.
You know what that reminds me? Next year is the 50th anniversary of Giant Size X-Men #1.
Ooh, boy, I hope they do something good in celebration.
It's also the 50th anniversary of The Invaders, Giant Size
Who?
Invaders. Yeah, hey. It's a new year. It's 2024. That means instead of going back to 1983, we now travel 40 years back to 1984 for the old fart rule. Yeah. But, and what way to kick off the new year and a new year to feature for the old fart rule than with Hercules, Hercules, Hercules. Prince of Power #1. You knew I was gonna do it. It's the first issue of Hercules' second miniseries by Bob Layton. I brought this up not just because it's Herc. I'm watching season 2 of What If, Richard. I'm watching it. I'm about
Good.
th yeah, I'm 3 episodes into it. You had a Nebula episode with Howard as her
Hmm.
sidekick. Amazing. Great
Yeah.
treatment of Howard. Full approval from the Howard fan here. Then you had a Star-Lord episode, and this featured Thor, and this reminded me of a real bugaboo I have about Thor in the MCU. He's
Mm.
not written as Thor. He's written as Hercules.
Oh my goodness, you're absolutely right.
The MCU Thor is Hercules. He's
You are absolutely right.
right? He's a bit of a stumble goof. He messes up a lot. He's drunk. He is funny. He's got a sense of humor. He's got daddy issues. He's Herc. He's not Thor. And this entire miniseries takes place in the far future of the Marvel Universe, where Hercules is roaming the spaceways with the recorder and a scroll named Skippy. And I'm reading this and I'm like, wait, this entire tone had to be the inspiration for the MCU's handling of the Guardians of the Galaxy, because it's the same thing, that same kind of spacefaring, swashbuckling action with the heavy doses of humor and pathos, along with plenty of daddy issues. Star Lord, Hercules, Zeus, and I was like, wow, is Bob Layton getting a check? I hope, maybe.
And that's something that can't be unseen. Now that you mention it, if you had just replaced Thor with Herc for the Guardians of the Galaxy, it would have worked just as well.
That's why it drove me nuts. The first couple of Thor movies, I was like, it's good, but it's Hercules. And now what are they going to do when they introduce Hercules, which they did? But how
Mhm.
are they going to handle it? They can't have two Herculeses running around the MCU. We'll see. Hey, Hercules Prince of Power #1. Strap yourselves in for the price of a CGC 9.8. Wow. Sold in August for $36.
Wow. Well, that's look on the bright side, John. It means you can get multiples.
Means I can. I have it. I'm good. I don't know if I need it slabbed. But what do you guys think? Am I onto something with Thor's character in the MCU actually being Hercules with a hammer? Let me know if I'm full of it or if you agree while we move on to our underrated books of the week. Richard, what are you doing? Why are you picking my books?
I know. When I found this, I thought of you because you're the reason I know this book existed. To be honest with you,
Uh-oh.
um, we were at San Diego Comic-Con 2 years ago, and you pointed this out. This is Megaton #1 from 1983. It's a black and white anthology comic published by Gary Carlson. Eric Larson's Savage Dragon started off here. Rob Liefeld's Youngblood debuted in this book. Liefeld later called Carlson, the publisher, the grandfather of Image Comics. I think he proved the fact that independent artists could put out their own product, and it was well received by the art community. Eric Larson had his first work in this book in June 2023, which is now last year. Image published a collection of the 8 issues in run for just $30, and that's what I'd recommend you should buy. Just for $30, you can have the entire run and be done. Or you can buy the #1 CGC 9.8 for a little under $200. Um, it's a piece of comic history, I think, and it shows that independent artists can do their own work outside the big studios.
It's a piece of what?
It's a piece of comic history.
Oh, like this?
Ah,
And look, it's a CBCS slab.
yeah.
What am I doing? Oh, go ahead.
No, no, no. What do you think about the book?
Obviously, I'm a big fan. I got this when I pointed it out to you. I trade for this? I think I traded for this as well.
I think so. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I forget what I traded. This is 9.2. Easily correctable. I see a big bend right here that could be pressed out, but I've never gotten around to it. I've never actually cracked a CBCS slab. But yeah, Mechaton. I think it's one of those big underrated books. That's why I got it. It's 41 years old this year. You've got the Liefeld ad for Youngblood in there. You've got Savage Dragon in there. Love it. It's not graphic fantasy, which is the first appearance of the Savage Dragon, but it's a much more affordable alternative. And I love that book. So no complaints from me. My underrated book this week. I know I've trashed this travesty several times before on this show, but I need you to hear me out when I tell you my underrated books this week are Thunderbolts, number 77 through 81. We talked about this. They threw out the entire concept of the Thunderbolts and rebooted it to make it about superpowered wrestlers and their girlfriends and wives and whatever. And it was just the most Bill Jemas of the Bill Jemas era books. You know, you've got booties, bling, bling, bling.
It actually says that on the yeah, it actually says it on the top of the book.
Fights, women, bling bling, unscrupulous managers. Issue 80, which is on the screen now, says bling bling, booty, boxing, bars, for real men. Thunderbolts. I was shocked to discover after we talked about these on the show, these good girl art covers command a bit of a premium. Like Marvel, one of the worst comic books ever published, but for some reason people want it because of those Greg Horn covers.
Right.
Especially, take a look at this number 80 with the Spider-Man cover. This one is the most expensive of that little 6-issue run, and you can see why. Well, or you can argue why. Your choice. I kind of
Yeah.
little copper tone homage there. Very low print runs on these issues. Issue 80 that I'm showing here in particular had a print run of just 18,799 copies. Each one sells for about $7 to $10 raw on eBay, while 80 commands a little bit of a premium above that. A CGC 9.6 of number 80 sold in October for $45. So there's no 9.8 yet. Nobody's slabbed a 9.8. Now's your chance, Richard. Um, the reason why I tell you about this, as much as I hate this book and hate what it did to my favorite super team, I got all of these in dollar bins over the years.
Mhm.
So there's something out there. So if you want the easy flip, look for Thunderbolts 76 through 81. Happy hunting, horn dogs.
Yeah, that's right up my alley because yeah, because I am horn dog. But yeah, I've never bought any of the Thunderbolts from that particular run. The whole concept of them just usurping the Thunderbolts title for a completely different story just really rattles me, and just never been interested.
I love the argument that he had apparently, which was, Thunderbolts isn't selling anymore. I hate superheroes, so let's cancel it. But I want to use the name for this. I thought it was horrible. Why are you trading on the name if it's don't get me started on that guy.
Mhm.
I'm sure he's very successful right now, he said sarcastically. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us this week. Reminder, if you're not a member, please join, and you get to join us on Wednesday for an extra show and tell episode, along with member-only viewer mail and member-only live streams on Friday. If not, we understand. Times are tight. We will see you next Monday.
Yep, everybody stay safe.